Oh, good evening. Welcome once again to another edition of business, talking about business in Clevenard. My name is Benedicta Erewini. I'll be the one moderating today's discussion. You're welcome. First of all, I want to give a rundown on what Clevenard is all about. Welcome to Clevenard International Network Television, where we just want to create awareness in your community. We are unparalleled media platform meticulously crafted to cater specifically in disseminating information. We recognize the significance of establishing an online space that empowers the public to showcase their work while fostering connections with a diverse and engaged audience, paving the way for an harmonious blend of purpose. As we promote, create awareness, educate the public, and help spread information on societal issues with an aim of influencing people's attitude, behavior, and belief through an online publication. Today's topic, we'll be talking about the business opportunities and the role of media, aviation, culture, movies, and tourism in the African diaspora market. With me here, we have three guests. I'll start by introducing you one after the other. I'll start with Sir Frederick Addison. He's the author of Doing International Business, a practical guide and workshop, National Black Chamber of Commerce International, and Corporate Relations Director, Blueprints Global Consulting Group Managing Director. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be
All right.
here.
Yeah, our second guest on ground here is Olufemi Adeniji. Femi is a prominent aircraft engineer, BTech, AME, BSc Electronics, licensed aircraft maintenance engineer, NCAA, Nigeria, DGCA, Indian, FAA, and P, former director, Bombardier Aerospace Gulfstream, Aerospace and Embraer Aircraft, Vice President, Reliance Aviation Incorporation, consultant for UK, CAA Civil Aviation Authority, Dubai, Russia, SCAA Brazil, ANAC Venezuela, INAC Bermuda, CAA Denmark, Registry Gambia, CAA, Uganda Civil Aviation, and Equatorial Guinea, CAA. Welcome, sir.
Thank,
Good to have you on board
thank
today.
you.
The
I'm
last
glad
but
to be
not the
here.
least, yeah, the last but not the least is Elian Saint Ange, a senior politician who served as the Minister for Tourism and Culture, and later for Tourism, Civil Aviation, Ports, and Marine, or served from 2012 to 2016 as the President African Tourism Research Network. I'm so happy to have you on ground here today on discussion for the business opportunities and the role of media, the role of aviation, culture, media, and tourism in the African market diaspora. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Benedicta.
All right, sir. Now, I'm going to start with the quest from Sir Frederick. I'm going to be asking a little question because our focal point of being here today is to create a platform and awareness in our community via Clevenand. That is why Clevenand.com has brought us together so we can harness and create a connection between the people and those Africans in diaspora. So, Mr. Frederick, I have a little question for you. What can you tell us, please, the role of business opportunities on how Africans can come together with the Americans in the business opportunities? Can you just tell us? Because a lot of people have the mindset that there are businesses everywhere, but they don't have the awareness that they can create business because there is no platform that can leverage such. So I would want you to throw more light on that, please. Sir Frederick Addison, is having an internet problem. Okay. Okay, let me direct my question to Mr. Addison Adegiji, who is in charge of the aviation. Okay, Addison has just joined us. All right, let's go back to him. Sir Frederick, is he back online?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm having a little bit of internet issues. I apologize.
Okay. Oh, okay. You're welcome back, sir. Sorry for that. Now, I asked a question that would want you to give an answer to that. What are the business opportunities that could connect the Africans and the Americans in the market, in the African market in diaspora? Because a lot of us know too well that we have opportunities, but we've not still come to realize what particular opportunities we have. Can you please tell us? Thank you very much.
Well, and basically in responding to that, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. I mean, prior to COVID, basically looking at the tourism sector was the fastest growing sector in the African diaspora space. African Americans traveling abroad, traveling to African locations was the highest fasting growth area. And basically, from an implementation standpoint, that's something that has had the ability to kind of grow with least amount of infrastructure as far as capitalizing in the actual travel component of that. That being said, the other markets that's really growing is the creative industry marketplace. When we talk about the creative industry, that means everything from music, hospitality, fashion, design, movie production, and what have you. And as an example of that, really is a true example is just looking to the music sector. When you listen to Afro beats now, wherever you're traveling around the world, Afro beats is something that's in every part, every continent, every country. And as a result of that, it's giving a great deal of opportunities for those that are in that sector. So those are just two that I'll mention now that I think are areas for this conversation that I think we can kind of move forward with it and advance on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. In other words, you've just been able to tell us now that there are so much business opportunities out there for the
Yes.
Africans and the Americans there in the African market diaspora. Beautiful. But there's something that we need to find out. There is a restriction between us and the Africans in diaspora. Sorry. This restriction is a platform where we can disseminate information. We find out that we lack information. And
Yes.
because of the absence of information, we are not able to assess the business opportunity. I think that is why Clevenard has brought this platform where we can come together and disseminate this information. So, how do we, I'm still getting back to you, Mr. Frederick, how do we harness this media, this medium at which the people can relate to the Africans in the diaspora so that it can be easy for us to assess the business opportunities.
No, I mean, the messaging is very important, and media plays a very important role in that because I think all too often there's been this disbelief that the African American and the African marketplace are something that's elusive, when the reality is the fact that the African Americans are looking to do business with the continent very directly, and therefore they're looking to take their business skills and look to partner with those that are in Africa. And to that point, all too often, there's been a missed opportunity for both parties, the African Americans and the Africans in the continent, to kind of connect because of the misunderstanding. So the media plays a very large role in saying that Africa is open for business and African Americans are open to do business with Africa. And basically, let's collaborate and let's see how we can leverage our resources, our talents, and the market potential. Because I just like to, to always tell people when we segment the market here in the US, the African American market, which includes a lot of diasporans that are here in the US, roughly about $1.6 trillion of commerce. Okay. So when you combine that with what I call the Pan-African and the African around the world in different continents, we're not a minority marketplace. We are a significant majority marketplace. So I say to people, if we just do business with the cultures that we all have emanated from, then we could basically catalyze and provide a catalyst to our economic development around the world that basically would be shocking. And so that's one of the things that I'm looking to do in my partnership with the National Black Chamber of Commerce is to be deliberate and intentional about doing business. And if I just if you may just take one little brief moment on that. And to that point, I've got some of my colleagues, as you mentioned, I'm the chair of the International Committee for the National Black Chamber of Commerce. I've got colleagues right now that are coming back from a fact-finding trade mission from Senegal, okay, to look at the opportunities that are in Senegal. I've got colleagues that are in South Africa, coming back from South Africa as part of the AGOA conference. I've got colleagues that are traveling to Mali to talk about the opportunities in Mali. This past week, we were on some conference calls looking about opportunities in Uganda. I'm in the process of planning a trade mission to the 6 coastal counties in Kenya, the Jemaya conference that's happening November 30th, 27th through November 30th. And I say those things because there's a lot of opportunity, okay? And that's just some of the things that are on my calendar that we need to just take advantage of as a diaspora around the world and working together. So there's a lot of opportunity.
Amazing. Yeah, this is simply amazing. In other words, we come to realize that there are so much opportunities out there, business opportunities.
Yes.
What I got from you is the aspect of the collaboration. All right. We are unaware that collaboration is key. So many persons are unaware about that. That collaboration is key. All right. I will get back to you. I want to um, I want to ask a question to Mr. Olufemi Adediji, who is in charge of tourism and no aviation, sorry. Now, in coming together to create a collaboration between the Africans here and the Americans over there in the diaspora, there is a restriction. We have a lot of challenges in trying to get over there. All right, maybe in the course of traveling out from one country to another, we have challenges of high costs of traveling abroad, not because of fun, not for fun's sake, but to go and get to find out what's really happening over there. So, sir, I want you to talk to us about the aspect of the aviation aspect of business, getting opportunities through that.
Uh,
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much. It's a very good question. And fortunately, I just did about 4 presentations, one in Houston last week with Fidelity Bank Trade Summit, and one in Fort Lauderdale about 3 weeks ago. Number one problem we have in Africa is connectivity. You'll find out that in United States, you can travel from Florida. I live in Florida, from Florida to any part of the United States, anytime, any day. In Africa, it's tougher. You want to go to Togo from Nigeria, you have to go around, either go by road, which is the easiest means, and it takes 26 hours. By flight, you have to go to Cameroon to, there's no direct flight, except recently that some of the airlines, I think 1 or 2 airlines in Nigeria just started flight. about a week ago. Mr. Addison just mentioned Senegal. Senegal has been
Yeah.
moving aggressively, and I love the way they move aggressively when it comes to development in Senegal. For example, the trade mission we have, international trade mission we had in Fort Lauderdale, Senegal was present. The Minister of Aviation, Minister of Trade from Senegal was present. The Minister for Democratic Republic of Congo was present. Even Minister from Ghana was present, and Minister from Chad was present. And part of this, I was so happy, excited about it because is where the way you sell yourself that will make people know your existence. If you don't sell yourself,
Yeah.
people will not know your existence. Um, Mr. Addison just hit it on the head when people do, a lot of Americans, African American, wants to do business in Africa, but they don't have a clue. And Ghana started something which I really, I'm very happy about. They're encouraging African Americans now to buy land, to buy property in Ghana.
Wow.
And when you open that kind of door, it at the same time open your tourism, at the same time open your uh, investment opportunity to invest in the country, because we Africans in Africa do not, when we travel from here, African Americans travel from here to any part of Africa, the amount of opportunities we see gets very aggressive. We get very aggressive. Why? They are not using all these opportunities. And labor is very cheap, whichever way you look at it in Africa compared to this part of the world. But unfortunately, the government preaches ease of doing business, but the bureaucracy sometimes frustrates African Americans to invest in Africa, because the bureaucracy of registering your business, bureaucracy of getting things done, which is unfortunate. I use the word unfortunate on the part of we Americans who believe if you move from A, your next step is B, and your next step is C. But that's not the way business is done in Africa.
Right.
I had an operation, airline operation in Nigeria for about 6 years that I had to close down because of the corrupt attitude, the bureaucracy involved. It's stressful, but the opportunity is there. So to answer your question in detail, just to mention a few things, connectivity is part of our problem. And benefits,
Yeah.
open benefits in African countries, the leaders don't see tourism as, or aviation as something that's develop a country. Thank
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, sir. And furthermore, I want to add something. You just talked about connectivity. For us, for these persons, like the business people, for them to be connected to these opportunities, don't you think there are some challenges, there are some shortcomings? Because you find out that people who are not well, they don't have enough money, one, they want to strive to do business, they want to grab opportunities so they can make headwinds. And they find out that the cost of traveling is high. They can't meet up with the cost of traveling, boarding a flight and traveling all over to go and get opportunities. What measures can be taken to harness this issue or this problem for those who are less fortunate or financed?
Thank you very much. There are measures that can be taken. First and foremost, the uh, Africans have to honor their contracts. When you sign a contract, you honor the contract. That's part of the problem that I will use some of the African countries. I don't want to be particular right now. Some of the African countries, they sign contracts. When it's time for them to honor the contract, they start giving excuses. It used to be very easy to lease aircraft to different part of Africa before. But once the aircraft gets there, they stop payment and there's issue. And when you try to repo your aircraft back, the government step into it and there's court injunction on something that is your property that you cannot take it out. Meanwhile, they're owing the lessor on the aircraft. So that kills, which they don't understand, is that kills opportunity for other people that wants to do the same thing. And when you, in a simple way, when you borrow money from the bank, you should have a business plan on how you are going to pay the money back. Not borrow the money with the mind of not paying back. And business benefits like tax break, grants, these are all the things that in the United States are doable, but in Africa, I've discussed with a lot of ministers, a lot of at least head of states, Uganda, Nigeria, Sierra Leone. There's no way you have a business or you want to start up a business in Africa without getting a commitment as an African. No partner will join you without having a financial commitment on the other end. If you don't, I cannot bring my business to you and say, let's start up a business. I sponsor the whole business. I paid the whole trip. I paid the whole expenses. Then you come as a partner because I'm setting up in your country without a dime. Nobody does business that way. So that's part of the risk. And security too is another major risk in some of these countries. I'll use Nigeria, for example, as great 300 million. The population is there, the opportunities are there, but the publicity you get out of the country overseas is not conducive for most investors to come there. I have been in a situation where I have drawn map of Nigeria to tell them where they're having the tourism and where the business is going to be, but that still did not send good messages. So the government seriously have to take it when they preach ease of doing business, they need to walk the ease of doing business.
Very well, sir. Thank you so much, sir. In other words, there is what I could get from what you just said now is lack of trust, breach of contract. In other words, when you've agreed on something and the other party is not forthcoming, there is always breach of contract. That is why it's been very difficult for such opportunities. All right, Mr. Frederick is putting up his hand. You want to say something?
Yes, I would just like to add to that part of the conversation because I think what's happening with the passage of time is that as the families of the African people that we call the Pan-African diaspora are being educated in what I'm called developing worlds, we're starting to understand best practices. And the points that were just kind of raised are where the diasporans are starting to realize that based on understanding the local issues on the continent, within the countries, that we can bring these best practices together by coming back and saying, I'm coming back not basically to take poor advantage of our countries, but I'm coming back to bring advantages to our countries by partnering. So the mere fact that we understand the continent is very rich in natural resources, and to the extent now we're understanding the technological flows that can utilize those assets, we understand the value propositions that have to be placed on those assets, such as increasing the value opposed to just having raw materials exported from the continent, is basically adding value add, bringing the manufacturing, the processing, the refining to the products. As we understand this, I think the mindset is changing where the government officials, I mean, as was mentioned, the ministers that are coming to our conferences, the ministers that I've spoken to also from Ghana, from Sierra Leone, Kenya specifically, Nigeria as well, they're realizing that there's got to be a dawning of a new day. And that's where we have to recognize that maybe the cash is not all of the asset that's needed, but the contributions from the local component is just as valuable. And we're recognizing that we can come together and collaborate to figure out how we can utilize our resources collectively to, again, to take advantage of the market opportunities. And I just want to say that because I think that the timing is becoming such that we're recognizing the opportunities here. And that's why one of the things that in publishing my book, I really want to keep it simple, because all too often people say it's complicated, but guess what? Everything's complicated if you look at it from that lens. But if you look at it saying it's simple, then everything's simple if you look at it from that lens. And that's where, as diasporans, to me, the first thing we can start saying to, if my ancestry says I'm from Nigeria, I happen to have a lot of my business colleagues from Blueprint Global Consulting Group that are Nigerian. We do business with Nigerians, and guess what? The risk factor is decreased. Why? Because we have a local component that's there that understands each other. And that's where I'm just saying that we have to kind of demystify the fact that we can overcome these challenges, and we will overcome these challenges if we're intentional and directional about doing so. So I just want to add that to the conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that is why this platform has been created. We know all of these problems. We know that there are restrictions. We know that insecurity is part of it. We know there is no trust. And that is why Clevenard has come to bridge this trust, to bring us together, so the Africans in the diaspora can still know that there are people you can still trust to invest in Nigeria, for example. All right, I want to call on Allen Saint Ange, Minister for Tourism. I want you to talk to us, because the topic before us is business opportunities. If I have a business opportunity and I don't understand the culture, I don't get to know the culture of other countries, how do I merge this together in order for me, or in order for whichever country, to excel in getting that business or opportunity as a result of tourism and culture?
Thank you very much, Benedicta. I think both Mr. Frederick and
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Femi have highlighted a lot of challenges and yet a lot of opportunities that exist. Yes, you are both right in bringing out the challenges, but also the opportunities. I think I've always said, whenever I've been on this platform with Clevenard, that you offer today something that Africa-wide must be doing. We can't count on the diaspora in the US or anywhere else in the world to know what opportunity in Africa. Who's going to say that? Today we are lucky that we've got two of you in the States doing books or doing conferences and opening platforms. It is good for Africa that you've got single-handedly, some people are doing it. But is that your responsibility or your duty? No. Be able to write its narrative and say, this is what we have in Africa. And we must know, before we can start it, to know where our diaspora is. Not just that we've got 1 million here or 500,000 there, who they are. It is time that we respect our brothers and sisters of the same ancestors that we have still in Africa, and to be able to say, yes, we know you are there. We respect your ability, your capabilities, and we want to invite you now to come and see your homeland, or where your 5-6 generations ago came from, so that you can appreciate firstly. Once you've appreciated, it is easier for you to develop, firstly, like Mr. Frederick said, a partnership from the land itself. And secondly, that you appreciate the country and tweaking forward the challenges. Yes, I cannot deny that we have challenges in operational avenues. Yes, we have it. But can we surmount this? Of course we can surmount it. Of course these things are surmountable when we take them one by one. But I'd like me to take you, Benedicta, a step back. Your first question earlier to Mr. Frederick was, how do we move forward? Which platform will exist? I think Africa needs to put its foot down and say, we will write our narrative for Africa, bring out where opportunities exist, and tell the world, primarily directed to our own diaspora in the past, that, and say these opportunities exist in Africa. And as I said after that was, but we have to know who the diaspora is. You can't go and put adverts. I think the general adverts of saying, yes, diaspora of Nigeria in the US, you are invited to participate in this forum. This is, you're preaching wrongly. We have to be more focused. We have to be more respectful, and we have to know them. You can't preach to people that you don't know. I think this is, in today's technology, we must know as Africa who our diaspora is, respect them, put a name to them, put a face to them, and know what are their strengths. I am honored when I heard Mr. Femi speak about the platforms that he's addressing in different parts of the states. This, we must all be aware of it. But how do we get to know? Do you expect a major channel to tell us that? No. Africa must tell it to ourselves. I say that often. If we don't write our narrative, put the accent on what Mr. Femi has said, the book that Mr. Frederick is putting out, how he's simplifying life to look at, we will fail. We will say this, what we're saying tonight, 5 years down the road, it'll be the same thing, because we are unable as Africa to put a nail in the wood and hit with a hammer on the nail itself. I think this is what I feel is more important today for Africa to decide. If Clevenard is offering us a platform, then it's good. Then us, all Africa, say we've got this platform, and let us channel the information into it. Today you battle. You do programs, obviously you do daily. You have programs, yes. But where do we see it afterwards? How do I know the books that Mr. Frederick is writing to help Africa and Africans, and to help the diaspora look at what is possible? How do I know his books? Do I go on Amazon, or I don't know which other sites that books are published? No. Africa must be proud that we have Mr. Frederick doing it. So we say, if you want concrete steps forward, go to this site, find the book of Mr. Frederick, then read that. We can even say, go to chapter 15 or 18 and read that chapter and put that chapter out for them to know. I think this is where we need to go. And I am very practical as a person, but I come from a small island, so it is, we have to be practical. We come from Seychelles. We are practical because of the size population that we have. If we are not practical, we will have talk shows until we are blue in the face. We must be able to say enough is enough. We have an organization, we have regional bodies, and we have experts in different fields. Let us rally everybody together. I mean, the conferences that I attend, a lot of conferences across Africa. Obviously, I'm a tourism consultant. Tomorrow, I'm meeting a big country in Dubai. We're preparing the next travel show. I am helping them through my expertise, how I believe they should move. But who knows how to get Mr. Femi to come and address one of these bodies where Africa only is represented? Today is addressing America, and some ministers fly to America. But why don't we bring him to Africa to address us here, so that we can hear him? Not only me, but more people will hear him, and probably African channels will take what he says and tell his brothers and sisters, there, you have somebody who originated from here, he's become an expert, he's talking to us now. In French, they've got a saying that says, nul n'est prophète dans son pays. No one is a prophet in his own country. But if we have people that have originated from us, that have grown into shoes that are much bigger than we have today, let us invite them back. Let us bring these experts back to talk to us. I say this with, I'm very humble. We must never be shy of those that have made it through the diaspora. But we must be able to tell our brothers and sisters on the 54 countries of Africa, there you have these experts. Call on them. They will help you because they feel part of you. Open the door for them to bring investors or to channel possible developments for our own countries. We know we need it. The whole of Africa needs openings with new investors or lines of businesses that we're today not doing. Yes, we have the minerals. We have everything in Africa, except we don't finish it. Other people finish it. From cocoa all the way through, we send everything overseas. We must start finishing it. And yes, we will need foreign investments to do that. I've taken the point Mr. Femi said. Once we make a contract with somebody who's going to help us finish our product, let's respect the contract once we've signed it. Respect it, abide by it, and make that contract grow so that tomorrow you are in different fields because you've opened the door to this. I think this is what I wanted to say, having listened to the two members of the panel, because I am overwhelmed by meeting you tonight on this platform. Overwhelmed because I did not know about you. And when I realized the might of experience and capabilities that we have, are we shooting ourselves down in the foot instead of calling on people like you to be alongside us, alongside Africa, and move us forward as a continent? Thank you, madam. I hope I've not been too long, but I felt I needed to say it. It's been bugging me when I listen to the two.
No, you've not. You've just done justice to everything that has been said here. In other words, that is why Clevenard has brought this platform to create this awareness. Like I said, we are raising our community. We are creating awareness in your community. So this awareness that is being raised is for people who don't have that insight. It's for people who long for. They want to hear. They want to know because they have the ability to explore what they have. So this platform will be able has come to help to synergize that problem. And at the end of the day, trust me, that problem will not be there anymore because we are going to rekindle the trust. We are going to rekindle that of the contract that he just mentioned now. When people sign contract, they don't follow it. I know it's fine. That's human being. But there are still people who are genuine. There are still people who are trustworthy. Through this platform, I know we are bringing them together. I never knew I was going to meet someone like you, like Mr. Femi, Angley, and Frederick. I never knew that. But Clevenard has brought us together. Seeing you, seeing me here shows that there is still hope for the future. Trust me, there is still hope for the future. Now, Mr. Femi, you want to say something?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. This is, I think, the core panel Cleveland TV has invited me to, and I really, really appreciate their effort trying to show how we respect ours, how we recognize our expertise. Some of us, like you rightly said, some of us we're so patriotic about the continent that we volunteer information at times, and painfully, you find that they don't recognize it. They rather, I will give you a few examples. Uganda. When I had a meeting with, I met a friend in London and he invited me to Uganda. I met the president in Uganda. We spoke. I told them what they're doing. That was when they realized that the airport that was built for them by the Chinese was going to be taken over after 25 years by the Chinese. That's one example. I will use Seychelles as an example. Another example, Seychelles, 20 years ago, nobody knows Seychelles, a small island, until they came up with their investment benefit. Now people take airplanes from Canada to register in Seychelles because of the benefits available there. People take airplanes from United States to Seychelles. Particularly, there's a lot of Nigerians that registered their aircraft in Seychelles because of the benefit. I totally agree with you that we need to respect ours. The new Minister of Aviation in Nigeria, when the guy was sworn in, the very first thing I did was to write the downfalls of aviation in Nigeria and the solution. Did I hear anything till today? No. So it's so funny. I worked in Canada for a while with Bombardier. I was a director in Bombardier. And each time they said, why you're here and your continent is falling down, because they don't recognize, they don't respect what we have. So that's part of the issue. That's what I wanted to add to it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. This is really an interesting one. Very interesting. All right, and Sir Frederick, I would want to ask you a question. Now, based on the fact that we've been talking about business opportunities, there are people who are ready to invest, but they find out that people who they are wanting to invest in, they are not trustworthy. And it's difficult to kind of invest into somebody or into someone who cannot deliver, who is not capable of delivering, getting back results. Because everyone who invests, your aim is to get results, right? Your aim is to get feedback from what you have done. There are a lot of people who have invested in Nigeria, for example. At the end of the day, no, 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 I don't want to do that anymore, this, that. And it has blocked the ways for other people who have trust, who have credibility, who have who has trust in them. All right, these are the measures they've been able to block them from accessing investors, foreign investors, due to their character, due to their breach of contract and the rest of them. So please, how can we remedy this? How can they be aware? How do we create the awareness? How can they be informed that, okay, notwithstanding that people who have hit us back, who have stabbed us, we still want to see how we can give a second chance to entrust our investment on people. Thank you very much.
No, that's a very good question. And what I try and do is have people take what I call a global look at that. Because see, all too often we say that in Africa and certain countries specifically, there's a lot of corruption that causes business to fail or businesses are unsuccessful. But when you look at a global perspective, on the average, only roughly 20% of all businesses that are started succeed. So that means 2 out of 10 for various reasons. So first I want to set that stage because sometimes I think it becomes unrealistic to say, in Africa, in the countries in Africa, that's where the problems are. I say, no, the problems are all over the world. And then I say, well, what are some of the things that they're doing around the world to kind of minimize those risks? And that's when it becomes just being mindful of what's required in certain marketplaces. And that's why it usually starts off with visiting the location that you're looking to do business with. And usually from a tourism standpoint, that's the first mindset. And I like to kind of tell the story how I initially got into what I call more of the international marketplace. When I was with a major bank, because of my position, every 90 days, I had to take 2 weeks off to make sure that the operations were running independently of me. I would go to the Caribbean countries that were basically close to the Miami area, the New York area, and I would visit with a lot of the local officials there that happened to be of the Pan-African diaspora. They happened to be people like me, okay? Then that's when I realized, wait a minute, there's opportunities But it did not. It took time for us to understand each other, to get to know each other, understand what they're doing in business, what they're competent in doing, and to understand their local requirements to ensure that we can positively do business. So I took those same experiences as I do business around the world, which are the same principles that we use when we're doing business on the continent and doing in Africa. First, you've got to get to know the marketplace, get to know people in that marketplace, know that they have been doing business for a while and that this is not their first experience in doing business. Knowing what you're looking to invest and risk in, understanding that there is a relationship that you're building, and then and only then when you have a sense of that, then you start saying, okay, fine, what are the barriers to entries from the legal perspectives, from the laws, from the government perspective that's there. And then what I try and tell people, the best thing to do is trying to then partner with a business that's there, collaborate with that business. Now, that does not mean that you're going to be successful in your collaboration, but it helps to minimize it. Why? Because basically that party is doing business already in that country. Now that you have that relationship, there should be a vested interest, a collaboration for both of you to be successful. And I say that because there are then the regular measures, because the situations where some business investors might look at that partnership opportunity as a way that they can siphon that relationship resources into what other businesses that they're doing that you're not part of. That's why you have to use the business practices and principles of managing the business properly. You know, having the systems, having the reviews, having internal people and local people that you know that are doing some of what's considered the security and the control parts of the process, so that you know to the best of your ability you can minimize your business risk. And I say that because in business nothing's 100%. Okay, so there's no guarantee that it's going to be successful. All you can do is to minimize your risk, and then understand what the return on your investment that you're looking for, and not to be so quick to say I'm looking for it within 2 years. You know, because as we know on the continent, sometimes what normally gets done in certain areas for various reasons takes longer. So if your investment horizon is 2 years, then you have to make sure that that is well known. So those are some of the things in general, because it is doable, because there are and this goes back to the messaging. When you go into the marketplaces, especially on the continent, there are major businesses that are successful that people are collaborating with. So I tell people, if you see the Coca-Colas of the world, the Amazons of the world, the financial services organizations like the Deloittes, the KPMGs in different countries, that's a leading indicator that guess what? That there is real business to be done there. And so we just have to be diligent and intentional to get it done properly.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In other words, we have to be intentional in achieving
Yes.
this goal. You have to be intentional in getting it right. There are people who want to get it. Some people are getting it right, but it's all about risk taking. So whatever life is all about risk. So you keep
Mhm.
trying and trying and trying until you get it correctly, and that is why Clevenard platform is created to match this problem, to erase, to eradicate this issue, so that people can feel free in relating with others without it. Um, okay, Mr. Femi, you were raising your
Christine
hand
first.
to say something.
Christine first. You raise.
Okay, Kristen, sorry.
Well,
Okay,
Alan,
sorry.
because I'm on my daughter's computer.
Oh,
But
okay. Okay.
don't worry. My point, after I listened to Mr. Frederick, I think, and Benedicta has kept talking about this platform that Clevenard has put forward. I am not an expert in banking, and I've listened to Mr. Frederick well. If we had an opportunity where you are going to invest with some people from the US in Nigeria or in Senegal or in Benin, and you say, I want to go there and I want to do fisheries, or I want to do oil, or I want to do cocoa, or whatever you decided, should we not have in the platform a group of potential investors that have been cleared by the central bank or cleared by a major bank or a consortium of bank, the Bankers Association, to say Mr. X has been cleared, he's genuine, he's not a pirate that will appear and disappear, and his line of operation will be this, this, this. Nobody can be a master of all. It's impossible. We need to be able to segment out possible investors or possible partnerships in our respective countries for would-be investors that will come from overseas. So this platform is more important than ever. It'll stop what Mr. Femi has brought out earlier. People that don't want to pay if they can a plane and then don't want to pay the plane and then put an injunction on it. And that creates bad vibes and puts the country as a whole or even the continent in a bad light to say, oh God, don't go there. But if we manage to have a platform where we can say, okay, you want to get into leasing of planes as a business and then you want to operate. I mean, you spoke about Bombardiers. They come here from Nairobi. We want now to do a new one, reciprocal. We've got the rights. If they come, we go. We want to do it. I'm not an airline man. I'm a tourism person. But Mr. Femi will be able to knock down on this platform and say, you have X, Y, Z, people for the airline industry. Yes, we are prepared to get into a joint venture of something. Yes, the Bombardiers would easily do Seychelles, Mombasa, because we have air access. Why don't we simplify our? But it's not Mr. Femi's role to go and find, is X trustworthy? Is Y owing a fortune somewhere and will not pay? Let's find the Bankers Association or the central bank with the Bankers Association of each of our countries to propose lists of people that are possible. And then they go on that platform, that site, or whatever we call it. Africa must not follow what is done everywhere. We must do something that suits us. We are today wanting to bring investors. Yes, we want it because we have all the raw products, the raw material. We want it all finished. So it opens an array of possibilities, including air access. But for us to do that, can't we really have a platform that we all promote? The platform that will be like the Bible, the phone directory of each country will be on that platform to say, that's possible. That is not possible. Don't come to say cocoa because there's not enough land and you will go bankrupt. But you can come to Seychelles and do fisheries or do tourism because that's what they live from. We must find a platform. I mean, it's more important now after I've listened to these two distinguished members of the panel. And I'm overwhelmed by what we have as Africa, as in the diaspora, and we're not using you. But to help us to use you, not use, but to put you in valor, give you that credibility that you need, we need a platform, a way to push forward. I don't know why the African Union or the regional bodies from COMESA, SADC, East African Community, North Africa, South African, why we're not using it? And I pray maybe through the press that we find a way to really hit the nail on the head and solidify it. Although you'll invite us again and say, you were here, it's reconciliation night tonight, the three of you were there in November last year, we want you to talk again. But it's achieving nothing. Thank you very much. I just felt it needed to be said again.
In addition to what Alan just said, you've nailed it on the head. Respect what you have. Doesn't exist. I'm sorry I said doesn't exist. It's not valued. It's not valued in Africa. And the reason I said it's not valued, they rather deal with someone, it's something I've seen, I'll use an example. I totally agree with Fred when you say making use of the locals when you want to start up a business. But the locals have their mindset of doing business. You have the bank behind you that gives you moratorium for 2 years, 1 year for you to pay back your loan. And you have a situation where you employ a local. I remember my first operation in Nigeria where they use phone. They're on the cell phone when they're on duty, which is a no-no in United States. You call, that's efficiency. I implemented, you drop 500 naira once your phone rings in the office, face what you need to do. What do they do next? They go to the restroom and answer phones. These are all obstacles you go through, and the bank is right behind you. I totally agree with Alan also when he says we should have a platform. Cleveland is doing a very good job with this. We should have a platform where you can introduce. I'm meeting Fred for the first time. I've never heard of you. It's a good opportunity. So I will ask Cleveland to exchange everybody's contacts. I think when we start doing it, African Union, it comes to recognition and respect of your own, doesn't exist. They don't value it. ECOWAS, the same thing, because I can say it authoritatively when I was in Bombardier where people would come in, oh, you are from where? Originally from where? I'll tell them where I come from. How long you've been with Bombardier? I tell them. Do you realize you are the only director with your skin color in Bombardier? Yes. I've been there with my experiences. Likewise, the same thing in Gulfstream. Likewise, the same thing in Boeing. It's embarrassing, or it's a pride that yes, we have, but when your people come, they don't recognize all that. They don't recognize all that. So that's a little chip I want to chip in. We need to get to the point where we're recognizing ours, where we are patronizing ours. I give an example of what Seychelles did. I was impressed. And being a former minister there, you will agree with me that their tourism have developed so much because of the benefits open to investors, because of the policy they implemented. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate your contribution as regards that. Frederick, you're raising your hand. You want to say something?
Yes, I would just like to add to the comments that Alan's
Okay.
made and Mr. Femi. I think it's so true that we can recognize what I call the issues that needs to be addressed. And I believe in my travels and my doing business, there are little things, or not little, there are significant things that are happening, but they're disconnected. And as for example, when he talks about, the platform to kind of identify, credible businesses, credible industries, credible business partners to do business with, and then also when Mr. Femi talked about the work culture, there's a lot to basically be dealt with in the business area, and that's where, from a resource standpoint, from vetting the businesses, banking helps us to do that. And then also there's some of the what I call government organizations that too are supposed to help us do that. And one of the challenges is nothing is 100% foolproof. Okay, so what I try and tell people, let's use all of them at different levels. Like for example, one of the reasons I'm a part of the National Black Chamber of Commerce and we have international branches all over the globe is because that helps me to make introductions to some of the local issues and I would say resources. And because then when I go into country, I try and meet with the highest level of government, the ministers of trade, and then also I try and meet with the country service office representing the U.S. USAID as from a trade perspective. I'm not linked to them, but I want to find out the intelligence that they can provide. Who, here are people that I'm talking to. What do you know about these people? And then also when I'm dealing with other entities like Prosper Africa, I say to them, "You're in this country. Who are you dealing with?" And then I do what I call my due diligence on the responses. because basically, as I mentioned, not everybody is going to have the same perspective, and some people call that doing a 360 degree analysis. So I can look at the what I call the private sector through the organizations that are there as far as business chambers and associations. I can look at the public sector, looking at the different ministers because everyone has comments about them as well, and then look at from the governmental sector as what is the government that I'm associated with is supposed to be helping. And then I make an independent assessment by trying to find the best partner to, once again, try and get started with the understanding that it's business. The success probability is not high, but guess what? The return on investment is if we do succeed. And then I realized that it's one day at a time, 1 month at a time, 1 year at a time, because all too often these issues that we find around the globe, they've happened over, I would say, years, if not decades, if not centuries. And to expect them to change overnight is basically, unrealistic. But what we can change overnight is our determination and intentionality to make the change begin to happen. And that's why when I come in contact with all those different levels that I mentioned, some people say, you're kind of naive, Mr. Anderson. And I said, no, I'm not naive. Your problem is my opportunity. If I solve this problem, it's going to be an opportunity that we'll all be happy for. If you look back 15 years ago in the States, AWS, Amazon, okay, was known just as Kindle, a book distributor that distributed books. They solved the logistic problem of distributing books. That was a problem that concerned every industry. So we go into it, and that's why I applaud Seychelles, okay, especially on the tourism side. They looked at an opportunity and said, how can we be known to the world? And that's where Africa, and maybe not as a complete union as the African Union, but maybe one country at a time. That's why I appreciate some things that are happening in Kenya, and because the new president there is talking very directly. And I appreciate some of the conversations that are happening in the Caribbean and Barbados, because the prime minister there is talking very directly and intentional. We have to just be willing to say, let's move the needle and continue moving it forward and addressing the issues, not scapegoating the issues, but addressing the issues so that we can say, yes, we do need a platform that can identify these folks. And banking, what do you use? Because you have to make sure that people are returning, who's repaying your loans or who's not. The commercial service office, what's your background checklist that you use? When the governments do business with other businesses, there's a SAMS database in the US that basically you have to be in that database in order for you to get a government contract. These are ways of making sure the parties that you do business with. And then last but not least, on the ground, when you do talking about economic development and employing people, we have to say to them, you might have to bring a team over to that country to train them on how to, one, do their jobs, manage the positions, and to basically balance the work-life component. Because unfortunately, this could be possibly totally new to the on-ground worker, that they've not really understood that, guess what? Being on the phone is a violation because you're not being as productive, So we have to be willing to embrace that, and it takes a great deal. And that's why, again, trying to have a 360-degree approach, embracing the public, the private sector, and basically being able to be more focused and intentional. This was what we can do, and that's what I think all three of us here are looking to do going forward and continue to do. And that's why I appreciate being part of this panel.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel so happy, and I know we are all enjoying this conversation. Yes, Ange said something that I'm covering on Clevenard platform. Yes, we all know that all these problems exist. We all know that these are the common factors and challenges that has brought the shortcoming for the foreign investors to come down to Africa and invest. We have other social media platforms. They've not been able to use it correctly. They've misused it in the wrong direction. And having seen this problem, and that is why Clevenard looked at all, did a research and said, no, we need to hit the nail on the head. We need to give a reassurance of the fact that foreign investors can entrust their resources in Africa. All right. And that's why this platform, I keep saying it, I've been on this platform for so many times, and I know the reconnection I've been getting all those while via Clevenard. And I so much believe in it so well that it's beginning to bring together those people who have lost hope, bringing together those people who don't have, who have given up, that no, I can't get any opportunity, I can't, I don't have the ability to travel, let me just remain the way I am. All right. So having gotten all this problem, we are bringing solutions to it, and that is the connectivity we are bringing back, and the reassurance of trust, reassurance of credibility, and to tell those foreign investors that we have capable people, we still have trustworthy people over here that can be invested on. And trust me, there's going to be a return on investment. I want to say very big thank you to that. And we are gradually coming to the end of the session. But before then, I want to rephrase that each and every one of us, we are going to talk more or a summary of the role. I need to still emphasize it because this is the contact in which the public, in which the community, that's why we said raising awareness in your community. In other words, this is a community where people can get this awareness. So what is the role, once again, of the media concerning this discussion? So, Mr. Frederick, once again.
No, I think it goes back to the statement that Alan mentioned that I think has been used. If we don't control our narrative, then basically we won't be able to tell our story. And the media plays a very vital role in that. And to the point that we have to let people know what are the activities that are going on, what are the results of those activities, and as it was mentioned before, where are some of the resources? And just by having this platform, hopefully, the viewers see that there's three other participants that's willing to utilize their time and their talent and hopefully our treasure to kind of advance what I call the positive impact that we can have on doing business. So the media is very much a significant part of that. And that's where using the technology to maybe amplify that media is something that we have to do, as you mentioned, in numerous platforms. And I know earlier Femi mentioned about connectivity on the continent, but we still have to be mindful that there is a desire for the continent to reach and consume the media and consume the information. And that's where I try and do as much as I can. I am also on some radio programs and some platforms that are specifically being broadcast on the continent and the Caribbean, because my goal is to say media plays a very important role. And so we must highlight that. We must welcome the opportunity to be supportive of the media wherever we can. So I think Clevenard and using its platform to help to amplify the message and whatever I can do to do that, because I know in the long term, it'll come back to me full circle. So media plays a very role.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Frederick. Mr. Femi,
Yes,
you raised your hand.
Fred just said it very well. The media has a major role in this. The media, which Cleveland has started very well, needs to highlight, like the panel, this three on this panel that we just did, something last week, Rwanda now issue no visa to all African countries. That's a step forward. The media needs to let everybody knows this, and because publicity, there's no negativity in any publicity. It's the way you take it that decides whether it's positive or negative. So the media has a very big role in advertising or marketing the potentials. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And in addition to that, concerning the aspect of traveling to other countries, to see what's happening there, to find out the culture and the values of the Africans. I still want to plead with you that you could use you could use your power to see how we can harness this situation. Like me, I'm a business person. I would want to travel out, not for fun's sake only. I want to go and explore my opportunities, how I can meet with other businesses. But because it's cost effective for me, and I find it very difficult to, and I find it very difficult to attain that level. So I don't know how you can come together with your team and bring a solution, proper solution to this problem. Femi.
Sorry, I turned off my mic. There's always a solution
Okay.
to the three of us, like I said earlier on, that Cleveland can exchange everybody's contact with each other. We can talk, we can share each
Yeah.
other's knowledge, we can make use of each other's specialty, and until the problems, the risk, or the obstacles, don't let me, the obstacles are addressed by the government involved, or by, it's going to be very difficult. Even if you advise someone, and this is the best direction that you need to go. For example, no flights from here to Sierra Leone, no flights from here to Kampala, when I'm in direct. But you still have to, one way or the other, you have to involve the policymakers. And when the investors they see it as, like I said initially, I'm bringing Allen in as an investor, and you expect Allen to bring 100% of his financial commitment to ease your problem. It's going to be tough. Because the next thing, I'm just using Allen as an example, the next thing will be, I'm not the one that have the problem. You are the one that have connectivity issue. You are the one that has the opportunity. I'm coming in, if it's always good to be very honest. If it's 10% or 20%, I can contribute, and I'm ready to honor the contract, the agreement we have. Opportunities will open. And the government of either any of the African countries should be willing to give some of these benefits. If those benefits, believe it or not, covers at least 15% of the issue. And when I mean benefits, you're talking of tax credits, grants of employing locals. This is what you get when you employ locals. This is what you get. Foreign exchange wise, I can transfer my money out easily, not becoming a bottleneck. So setting up a division of central bank in any of the country that takes care of that, and making life easy for an investor. Some of them have eased out the issue of visa now. Visa at the point of entry when you're coming in for a business. That's a step forward. And those are all the things. Flying the trade fair, the Fidelity Trade Fair I attended last week, there was an agreement signed there by Ethiopian Airlines, flying directly from Houston to Nigeria. It will come up. Air Morocco is the only one that flies from Miami directly to Africa. These are all the little things. And when you get there, making use of the trust we develop. Once they start seeing you and I talking, because you might be running a business, aviation business. It might be someone like you that does the catering, that supplies the drinks. These are all these steps that we need to take. And that is driven by the government policy. Thank you.
In other words, the government has a major role to play in this regard. Thank you very much. Alan, you want to say something?
Yeah. I just wanted to recap on two things. One is Mr. Frederick's earlier point, and then we'll come back to Mr. Femi. I think the point that you made, who clears these people that could be a potential investor, a potential partner for an investor to come in? Yes, we will need some clearing houses. I'm not an expert. I'm sure you and Mr. Femi are much more qualified in there. But we can have a clearing place in the States, a clearing place in the UK, a clearing place in Europe for that matter. So, but we need to find a way that bona fide good people, their names are cleared for them to be able to be that ambassador in the business world for our respective countries. And when Mr. Femi spoke earlier, somebody doesn't pay and an injunction and the plane cannot be repatriated. This hurts our continent and we must stop it happening. When it happens, it hurts everybody in the 54 states. No one is left outside this game. But the platform, I come back to the platform. Benedicta spoke about the platform. I believe in the platform. Take today, you spoke about Rwanda announcing that they'll be visa-free for Africa. They're not the first one. Kenya announced immediately that they're also going to do it. Seychelles has that anyway. We are visa-free. We've always been visa-free for everybody in the world. You only need a return ticket, and then that you are a bona fide visitor, or you'll get 3 months, and then you have to go after that. We're too small to have the whole world piggyback on us. But where do you find that? Do you go into all the pages of directories? Who puts it out? Where can an African go in Africa that he doesn't need a visa? We don't know anymore because it is too complex. Where do you have a direct flight between Houston in Africa or Miami in Africa? We don't know. Do we need to walk into a travel agency, or can we plan our lives through a platform that has airline connectivity, that has all these sections or segments of making life better? But the last point I want to make, Benedicta, is you spoke about you wanting to travel. It's good. You're a pretty lady, you should travel. But it is not enough for you to go and roam into New York and say, I'm a business person and I want to find a partner. Somebody will kidnap you. Come back. We need to find a genuine place where you meet people. We cannot just walk the world. I mean, we are from Africa. Yes, we have a nice song, we are from Africa. But we can't walk the world and say, I want to do business with you. This is why I said on one of the previous programs that I was on a while back, Africa must recognize its diaspora. Your best contacts, if you hit New York or Los Angeles or London or Paris, find the diaspora. But where do you find them? When I was Minister for Tourism and Culture and then became Civil Aviation, Ports and Marine, I used to say we will nominate or appoint all our diaspora, but you have to be from Seychelles, to be ambassadors of our country, tourism ambassadors of our country, in the whole world. So we had hundreds of them that popped up. And what they were able to do, the ministry could never do. They knew the little district or little village newspaper. They knew the editor personally. They knew the mayor of that town. So when we went on a marketing trip, the mayor would invite us and say, come, we'll have a town hall meeting and you can address the people. We need to find a place that says Lagos has in diaspora, the other Accra has this, and then Nigeria or Ghana has it as a bigger block. Who everybody is. It's important for Africa. Let's recognize our people. Let's be proud of our people. I think by recognizing them, we are showing that we are proud of them. If we are proud and then you want to go to New York, you'll Google the list of diaspora people in New York and say, anybody from my village first, anybody from my town, anybody from my city. You'll start finding an army of people that will help you, and then you will not be kidnapped, that's for sure, because you'll have a lot of people watching you. I really believe we have to give weight by recognizing our people. Yes, some have failed, but a lot have succeeded. Look at the two people on our panel tonight. They live in, I mean, not anywhere in the US. They are big people in the US, and we are still Africa, finding representatives. We are looking who we're going to work with. But we have people we should work with. We need to find them. Tonight, we should say thank you to Clevenard out of the woodworks for us to see them. If I had heard about Mr. Frederick or Mr. Femi, I would not know where they came from or what they do. Today I know. And my final point for you and Clevenard, after these sessions that we embark on with you, circulate to us the WhatsApp number or email address of each of these panelists. At least we can keep in touch with each other. It is a start of creating a chain of people that are like-minded, that have the same vision to a degree. You would have been helpful by connecting us. And if every day you've got 3 or 4 on a panel, you'll connect a lot of people. And he'll put Clevenard in the forefront anyway, but we'll be starting to recognize our people. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me on tonight. I really appreciated it today.
Thank you so much. I'm so amazed. I'm so happy. This discussion has really broadened my knowledge the more, because every day we keep learning and all that. Thank you so much for honoring this invitation, for becoming our guest today. I want to say a very big thank you to Frederick, to Mr. Femi, and Mr. Allen. Thank you so much, Clevenard, for giving this platform, for raising this platform, in raising awareness in your community. And I know so well that with all we've discussed here tonight, we will take it further, and I know there's going to be hope. Mr. Frederick, sorry, you raised your hand. You want to say something? I'm so sorry. Please go ahead.
And yes, and I'll be brief. Basically, I guess I'm so again inspired by the conversation that we've had here, and I just want to kind of amplify the fact that what Mr. Allen has said is 100% correct. If you want to try and stay connected, and that's one of the reasons, I don't want to be redundant on this, but chambers and associations are very important, and that's why I'm a member of the National Black Chamber of Commerce and chair of the International Committee, and we truly are intentional about having trade missions to kind of help to get what I call the diasporans to start traveling abroad, so we can do business together, so that you won't be kidnapped, so that you'll make sure that you're traveling for a business purpose, and also getting some tourism, how can I say, component of that. And to that point, creating a platform, we're looking to do that. And I'll just take this opportunity to let you know, and this is very in the early stages, in recognition of what we're all talking about, that we have to come together on the heels of our 123rd conference that we had with the National Black Business Conference that was held in August. The National Black Chamber of Commerce partnered with the National Business League. It's been around since 124 years, Booker T. Washington organization. We're looking to kind of put together an alliance of international Black business chambers. And that is going to be in addition to what we're doing with the National Black Chamber of Commerce, because as I said, we're pretty much in over 60 different countries. And so we're looking to amplify that by coming together. And this is on the heels. You may remember last year, December, the White House of the U.S. had an African Leadership Summit in D.C. We had alongside that an event which basically lifting up the creative economy, which included media. So we're looking at having another event in December, but the intention is to getting the diasporan that's here in the U.S. to come together to say, hey, let's coordinate our efforts on being intentional about connecting to the opportunities back in the homeland of Africa. And so this is a preliminary to that. So I just want to take that opportunity to say thank Clevenard for having us on and having such an inspiring panels here that made me want to just kind of share that, because we're just trying to be intentional.
I would like to be invited.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to ask a question before we conclude. It's a plea, and I want to find out if you will be ready to work with us. We will send an invitation for you to partner with Clevenard. Are you willing? It's a please, and I would not want to hear no. I want to hear a yes for an answer. We will really appreciate that if you were willing to partner with Clevenard.
And for me, that's a yes. As I stated earlier, I'm looking to be a true ambassador of the diaspora and the friends of the diaspora to doing business together, because at the bottom, at the beginning of the day, and I just said my ancestors, my grandmother used to tell me, there's only one race that God created. That's the human race. And our cultures are something that all should be celebrated and shared. And that's what I'm just looking to do, is celebrate and share our culture, as Mr. Allen mentioned, so that people realize that, hey, we can do business together everywhere and be happy in doing business. And so yes, for me, it's a definitely yes.
So you, Mr. Femi?
Yeah, same thing here. I've been working with Clevenard for a while. So it's, I think I got this invitation 2 days ago or 3 days ago. So it's, you can't take your knowledge to the grave. You just have to share it.
Okay, yes, that's fine. And to you, Mr. Allen, will you be ready to partner with Clevenard?
Completely. I mean, every time, well, it's because I know what Clevenard does is they're very cheeky, because they find a pretty lady to write to me and say, "Will you be on the they know I can't say no. I mean, it'll be a crime.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I am a true believer that Africa must get to know Africa if we're going to succeed. But I'd like to make just one point for Mr. Frederick, and I think it's a point that some people in Africa will be complex. I am not complex. I am not complex, and I am a bona fide island boy who's grown up on an island from a mixed heritage, very, very mixed. And I'm just doing a family book that traces all my roots all the way back. And you'll be surprised. I know every time I say that when I go to mainland Africa, I said, do you realize 5 generations ago, I had 2 great-grandmothers, 5 generations ago. One arrived in chains from Somalia, and the other one was sold from Mauritius to Seychelles, from the Bantu tribe. And you look at me, you won't say, I mean, this is why when you spoke about the Chamber of Commerce of blacks, I think try and do African origins, because we are so diverse today.
Yep.
So diverse, and it is all together that we will overcome the barriers or the challenges.
Yep.
Because we are today, I mean, you are a fair-skinned Black American. Mm-hmm. You are darker skinned. I am very light-skinned. But we all have that mixed heritage. And let us be proud of it, to say we've come from somewhere. And I'm doing my book, and I can't get a picture of my great-great-grandmother. So I've had to go and dig for slaves that had chains around their neck to say, this is what she landed as. But today she has me, and I was a presidential candidate in the 2020 elections in Seychelles. And I said, 5 generations later, after landing here in ships, I managed to force my way through. And I'm proud that I've done it. But we must all look forward, not be stuck with the past, but look forward. I mean, I am so impressed by the two. It's easy to be a big person in our own country, very easy. I mean, generally easy.
Yeah.
But to go and make it in a big open world, it is much harder. And I salute both of you. Sincerely, I salute you.
Thank you.
And Alan, I just want to say, yes, culturally, that's my focus. We're all of human culture, and based on our cultural heritage, that's the focus. Most definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good to have you around. God bless you. And don't forget to sign up with www.clevenard.com.
Thank you.
I remain Benedicta Erewili. Good to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And have a wonderful night.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.